Hello everyone, this week we're going to be talking about one of my all-time favorite bands. They are called Badflower. My name is Corey Schmidt and welcome to Stereo Space. So once again, my pick for this week is Badflower. They are an incredible band. They have a great mix of rock and alternative, hard rock, and little bits of emo and a little bit of punk, but not a whole lot. And just their style is very modern. It's definitely like what you think of when you think of 2000s rock, basically, like 2010s or 2020s even rock. Just like, you know, very guitar driven, but also with really good instruments all around. Like, you know, it's not just the guitar, it's the drums and the bass, and the vocals incredible as well. So it's a really great combination of stuff like that. I think the thing that really stands out for them the most, besides the vocals, which I'll talk about later, is their riffs are really cool. It's sort of similar to Dead Poets Society, which was my first pick for Check It Out. That was my week 1 pick, where the riffs are very cool, and it's like you're surprised that they were able to come up with something unique. Because, you know, in this day and age there's so much music out there, it's hard to make a unique riff, but Badflower is able to pull that off on all their songs, which is really awesome. And they're also able to really portray the emotion of the song in the riff of that song that they choose and that they create. And that's something that's really hard to do, but they definitely pull that off, which is really awesome. And so what I was going to talk about also was the vocals, and that is, I think, I don't know, it's debatable whether the vocals or the riffs are more important in Badflower, but I kind of want to say the vocals, actually, because they really drive every single song. Like, I can't imagine a Badflower song that's instrumental, just because it would really lose the thing that drives all of their songs, which is the vocals. So I think that's something that's really important in a band as well, to make sure that the vocals are there to drive the song and provide the message. And it pairs really well with all the instrumentals as well, because they're really good at having the emotions expressed clearly in the vocals, but then having the mood expressed clearly in the instruments, and it definitely works together in every song. And that's something that's really awesome. And one of the things that I talked about, actually, if you've been here for a while, is in my best albums of the decade, in my other channel called Bacon Bro 23, I actually had their debut. Okay. I actually had their debut album as my second favorite album of the decade, and I stand by that because it's an incredible album. But one of the things that I talked about in that video was that they discuss very prevalent topics in their vocals. They talked about things like online dating, online stalking, anxiety, depression, taking medicine, veganism, and suicide as well is a very prevalent topic. And I know that these are very heavy topics oftentimes, but they're definitely things that are discussed a lot in today's world. I know, especially for me as a teenager about to graduate high school, it's something that is those are things that are talked about pretty often. And even if you haven't experienced or can't relate to any of those or all of those or even a number of those topics, you can still connect with the lyrics because it's something that you hear discussed very often. And that's something that's really cool for the band, and it makes it easy to connect with all the lyrics of pretty much every single one of their songs. Alright, so now I think we've reached the time for the Alright, so now I think it's time for the intermission. I'm not really sure exactly what song I'm going to choose, just because I have a different favorite song depending on what mood I'm in and what topic I want to think about. So I'm not really sure exactly which song I'm going to choose, but I do know that it's going to be heavy, and the lyrics are going to be amazing, and it's going to be great instruments, and I think you're really going to like the song. So we'll be back in a bit, but for now, enjoy the intermission. So the only thing that I kind of don't like about the band, even though I freaking love the band so much, is that they seem to have really just found one sound, one style, and stuck with it through their EP and up to their album from last year. They seem to have really just sort of stuck with one style. They branched out a tiny bit, at least in terms of mood, but in terms of style it's pretty much the same. And don't get me wrong, it's an amazing style, it's one of my favorites, and it's definitely something that I don't get tired of listening to. But sometimes just as a general music lover, I wish for bands to branch out a little bit into other genres. You know, because sometimes if they can branch out into a little bit more punk for Badflower, for example, or maybe a little bit more emo, or a little bit more pop even, just to experiment, I think that's really healthy for a band to do because it makes them not get stuck in the same formula. And it's really exciting as a listener and a fan to be like, oh, I didn't realize they were capable of that style. It's really cool that they were able to pull that off. And I know it's weird to say because it sounds like I'm a hypocrite because I don't like pop, I don't like emo, and I somewhat don't like punk. So I get why it might seem hypocritical, but just as a general music lover, I like it when bands are able to branch out and try new things. But I always say as long as they can stick with the original style that got fans interested in them in the first place. Because I think that if you move in a completely new direction and just completely disregard what you did in the past, all your fans feel sort of left out. Like, well, hold on, what about this stuff, which is why I'm here. I love this type of music. What are you doing all the way over here? But like when bands are able to sort of dive into new genres but still keep it sounding like their old stuff, I think that's a great way to introduce themselves and their fans into different genres and sort of mix around and play around with other things. So I think if Badflower does do that and then they're able to pull it off, it'll be really beneficial for them and their fans, including myself. But even if they don't, if they stick with the same sound, I'll still be an avid listener because it's a really awesome genre, and it's definitely music that I don't get tired of listening to. So once again, my pick for this week is Badflower. They are a very young band as well, so they just have an EP and an album. They're working on their new album as well, which is super exciting, and I'm so excited to see what they release next. They have all of their releases on all streaming platforms, and they also have physical releases as well. I was able to find a record of theirs for their debut album, but my cousin and I both wanted it, so I decided to make a copy of it on a cassette and gave him the vinyl, because I have a cassette player and he doesn't. So we compromised, but unfortunately that means that I don't have the vinyl to show you right now. But I do have an autographed CD of theirs that I bought at one of their shows. Here's an insert shot of that. Wow, so cool. So that's super awesome. And they have a lot of great stuff on their website as well. I don't have the shirt that I have of theirs right now because it is in the laundry, but they have really cool different shirts and sweatshirts and pants, I think, too, and all this kind of stuff is really awesome. So definitely check all that out. And like I always say, I'm not sponsored by the band, I just think they're awesome. So thank you guys very much for watching this week. Let me know what you thought of the band if you do check them out, and what you think of this video as well in the comments. And once again, let me know if you have any suggestions for bands you think I should talk about in the coming weeks. Because like I said, I have a list of bands I want to talk about, but it's going to run out. So I'd love to get your guys' suggestions. So let me know, and thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you next week on Stereospace.